So the first thing you want to do is disconnect the battery. It is down here. Yep, you have to remove the tire. You need a 10mm socket to remove these bolts for the suspension, air pump suspension. Just pick this up. 10mm to remove the bolt from the negative. On mine it's already out for some reason, and just remove the negative pole and leave it off. Right. So I'm gonna leave it aside and leave it disconnected. Now we're ready to remove the generator. Now, before closing these doors, I will suggest you to put some paper or a towel right in here, because if this door closes, you are not gonna be able to open it. You are not gonna be able to open it at all. So we just leave it like that. Believe it or not, this generator is water cooled, and we're gonna remove the tensioner, this tensioner out of here by taking these two bolts in here. The tensioner, it uses a number 13mm socket, and I'm gonna go ahead and remove it. Okay, this little cover, it has to be removed from the tensioners, both tensioners, and right there is the I don't know if it's a T40 or T50. I'll figure it out. The tool to be used is a T50, and you have to put a lot of pressure in, so that way you don't screw the inside. You have to do this very careful to remove it. So the whole tensioner is out. It's a long bolt, and I'm gonna put the bolts back in place so that way we don't lose them. All right. Next, we're gonna remove the connection. Have to be very careful with this. We press these pins right here on both sides and push it up. Do not push it to the outside because you will break it. So you grab it with these two fingers like this, and push it out just like this. Up, not outwards, but up. Okay, and let's begin to remove all those bolts. And it uses a 10mm, I believe. Yeah, 10mm bolts all the way around. We also need to remove this ground bolt. You use a 17mm. Just loosen it and take it all the way out. With this one, you have to be a little bit careful because it's like with plastic, so don't try to force it too much. It has to come out. Just do it little at a time. And so we are ready to remove all the bolts all the way around. I believe it's 10 of them. So let's get started. So now I got it loose. You can see all the water dropping out. That's it. A lot of water gonna go out, and this, it should come out all the way. Hey guys, so before I do any repairs to this one, I already ordered the kit for this one, because I'm gonna open it and repair the inside. I want to wash this alternator really good. I use water-based dissolvers or degreasers. You can get it at any tool shop like Northern. And if you don't have this little machine right here, well, you can just buy a can of degreaser at your auto parts and just clean it with towels and, you know, some type of detergent. I want this really clean. I want these bolts right there very clean. And well, let's keep going. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna remove these two bolts right here using a T30. I believe it's a T30. Make sure you use the right tool. When you put this on, apply a lot of pressure down, a lot of pressure, and try to go as straight as you can, so that way you don't strip the bolt right there, and you know, it should come out. Alright, so you take those two. Alright, so the next step is to remove the nut for the ground, the nut for the shaft, and the pulley, and of course these bolts right here. So let's do that. I always like to spray some WD-40 before untying it, so that way it helps me to loosen the bolts. Okay, so apparently the 5/16 it'll fit perfectly. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use the 5/16 and I'm gonna put a pipe wrench, and this is do it at your own risk. I never put so much pressure, so that way I don't damage the pulley. And let's do it. So this is what I'm talking about. I did put a little bit of pressure on it. This got a little bit damaged, but as long as it doesn't bend, it's okay. So that's what I'm saying, do it at your own risk. This is how I did it. You can choose to do it different ways. You might be able to use the belt, or you know, whatever you want. So put it aside, so that way you don't lose it. These bolts, they're a T30 torque, and like I said, put pressure down and use a pair of pliers to move this, and it will come out very easy. To remove the ground nut, a 15mm fits just perfect. So being very careful, I was able to remove the pulley with the screwdriver. You have to be very careful not to damage the plastic. So I was able to do this with just a simple screwdriver. I was gonna use the puller, but I guess it was already loose. Once you remove all the bolts, you can then proceed with the removal of the plastic. It has like sealer all the way around, so Just try to push it with your own hands like this, and it should come out. It should come out with any problems. All right, this is it. I got it out. Make sure you don't lose any parts. All right, and let's continue with this. All right. So next we have to remove these bolts right here, this one, and this right here. All right. They should come out pretty easy. They're not tight at all. And let's do it. So once you got those bolts out, this should come out pretty easy. All right. So by looking at this thing, it seems like if it got a little bit damaged. I don't know if the repair kit comes with it. If not, I'm gonna try to see if we can get one. If not, I'll see what I can do. After removing the shaft, I was able to remove the bearing, the bottom bearing, with 2 screwdrivers on both sides, and it came out really easy, which makes me think this it was already giving out, and I can smell it. It's kind of burned. This old bearing is gonna help me out to put the new bearing on it. Okay, so I was able to remove the back one. Now I have to remove this one right here on this shaft. Okay, all right. The way I'm gonna remove this this bearing, so I'm gonna put them on the vise, facing down. Make sure you get nothing but metal. Getting metal, yeah. And with a big screwdriver, I'm just gonna hit it right in there, slowly, small taps. It shouldn't have a lot of pressure. So let's try it. And the bearing just came out. It seems like if it's spinning freely, but I don't know, something's wrong with it. Hey guys, so I got the new kit, which comes with the 2 bearings, gasket, this plate, which I need to remove the coil, and to remove the coil you have to loosen that bolt right there. By taking this bolt, you can easily remove the coil. So I got it out, and this thing is just popped out. Make sure these cables, they go out through that hole, and put it back in the same way you take the other one, just like that. It's out, and we're just gonna put the new one back in. So I got the new one back in. I'm gonna put that bolt back, tighten it, and we got this part done. All right. So next, I'm gonna go with the inside part. When I remove the coil, I noticed there was a lot of black stuff melted. I didn't know what it was until I got the new kit. I noticed the way on the back it uses this plastic sleeve. Why they use plastic, I have no idea. But that's where all that black stuff was coming from, all that debris and so I'm gonna have to clean this really good with electrical cleaner. Okay, so if you notice, I properly put the back of the coil on an angle on a vise, so that way I can just spray the electrical cleaner. Look, all that stuff that it comes out. It's all that debris. You want to clean it really good. You don't want any of that debris inside, and you know, just clean it on the inside and make sure it's really clean, so that way we can try to prolong the life of this generator as much as we can. All right. So I think it got pretty clean, as far as I know. You know, everything got clean inside. So I'm gonna do the next step. So if you disassemble this correctly, you shouldn't have to remove this black ring around it, which I did, and I messed up. So I have to put it back in, and just in case you messed up just like me, the cables have to go through here, and then we have to press each one of them. Alright, so I got each one of these connections tight, like you can see. However, I broke some of the plastics right here, so what I got for this is this plastic got this liquid electrical tape, and I'm gonna fill these gaps that I messed up right there, and hopefully it'll work. Like I said, I cleaned that really good inside, and let's see what happened. Alright, so what I'm doing in here is just applying that liquid electrical tape, I guess, if you want to call it. Well, that's the name of it. Being very generous, and it takes about 24 hours to cure. So I want to have a good seal. I don't want any problems. So I'm gonna put just a little bit of that on these ones too. I don't think this gets too hot, so let's see what happens. In the meantime, I'm gonna put that back together. Alright, so I got the coil back on its place. Now I'm gonna install the I don't know what this thing is called, but you have to remove this. Messed up in here, sorry about that. I'm gonna remove this nut to be able to install the, I guess it's called the coil, or I'm gonna put it back in place. Yeah, just like that. This, I'm sorry, one more thing, I forgot one thing. This goes first in here and into that hole. It's just the ground. Then you put this like this, then the bolt. Then we get the screws and put the rest back on. 1, 2, 3. Alright, So we got 7 bolts, which it corresponds to these ones: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This right here, that cable must be there, and then we put the bolt. And I'm just gonna continue putting all the bolts on all the rest of them. All right. So let's do it. So I am about to install the new bearing on the back of the coil. Before putting this on, is the small one. It's this one right here. I want to make sure it's very clean, very clean. You want the shaft to be clean, and also the inside of the shaft, the bearing. So I like to put a little bit of WD-40 for lubrication. Then I'm gonna put this right here on top, and since this is by pressure, alright, so the first thing I want to do is hit him right in the center, just a couple of bangs, just to make sure it is inside on the shaft. Once in there, you know, like right on the center. You don't hit it on the outside because you damage the bearing. And like I said, this is at your own risk. This is the way I am going to do it, and you might find another way to do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the old bearing in here on top, and I'm going to continue banging on this, alright, until it's completely in. So I'll see you in a little bit. Well, my old bearing was kind of dirty, and I didn't want the debris to get in on this one. So what I did, I got a 16 millimeter. I'm gonna put it right here. I'm gonna bang it and get it inside. Right? You always do the one on the inside, so that way you don't put pressure on the outside and damage it. So as you can see, I got the bearing all the way. And I'm ready to move on with the other one. It turns very nice, freely, brand new. So I have a good feeling that this is gonna work pretty good. So the next thing I want to do is I want to put this plastic sleeve on the bottom. Notice how one of them has like a notch. Well, that's the one that it goes that way. If you can see in here, this is the one that it goes there. It has to use that pattern, otherwise you will screw it. So you put that sleeve in there, plastic sleeve, and it fit right through it, nice and perfect. And next you want to sit the middle of the coil right in the middle into the shaft. See? And I can tell it is in there. Yes, I can tell it's in there. Okay. Once the other shaft is on it, it will be centered and it will be ready to go. The next thing I want to do is install this bearing right in here. Make sure you put these on a vise touching the metal, and just put a little bit of lubricant right here, like WD-40. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just bang it on these sides just a little bit, so that way it goes in, and then I'm gonna put the old bearing on it and hammer it. Then slowly I'm gonna hammer the outsides. It should go pretty freely. It's going in, so I'm just gonna keep doing it like this. because it doesn't take too much pressure. Make sure you just bang it on the outside so that way you don't damage the bearing. And it's going in very easily. And just gonna keep doing it until I get it all the way in. And so as you can see, I got the bearing all the way in. Looking it through here too, and that's what I wanted. I want to remove this debris from here. I don't like it. I don't know, it was part of the plastic, but I'm just gonna remove it from there. I don't want to touch anything there. Alright, so I cleaned this thing up really good, and I'm gonna put a real thin layer of gasket sealer, just or a gasket maker, so that way I can make a seal tight. Alright, so I apply a little thin coat of gasket maker and install the top part. I also put these 4 bolts in here and attach these. Everything has to be kind of tight. Let's see, this is still good. Make sure everything looks good. I put the little O-ring gasket there. That's where it's supposed to go, this washer. And I'm going to proceed to put this the top gasket. I mean gasket, the cover. I'm gonna clean it really good. I'm gonna apply gasket maker on that groove right there, and then I'm gonna put this, and then put the 4 bolts, and that's it. It'll be ready. Alright, so I was able to put everything back on. Everything seems good, normal, and I'm gonna wait 24 hours before I turn on the car. I probably install this thing today, but I'll wait until tomorrow to turn the vehicle on, so that way all the gasket seals. Alright, so it's time to install the alternator on its place, and we need to change the gasket, the outside gasket. That gasket issue came with a new kit. All you have to do is remove it, clean the groove, and install the new one. We're ready to go. Okay. Now the alternator, it has to go through this corner right in here where I'm looking at it. It has to go straight, like from where this hose you have to push it a little bit straight down and into its place. Also make sure we clean all the groove in here. It has to be very clean, and well, it's ready to install. Okay, so I was able to put the alternator through here. It's a tight spot, but you're gonna have to manage to get it straight down, and somewhere around here kind of like bend this hose and stick it in. It's a little bit of a struggle, so now it's time for me to just put it together and put all the bolts all the way around it. I was not able to record that because I couldn't do it with just with one hand. I don't have any help, but you're gonna have to play with it. It fits through here. It's just that you're gonna have to play with it. Just be careful with the radiator, because I did damage it a little bit. You can see how I did a little bit of damage. I hope I didn't damage too much, but let's see what happened. Alright, so I managed to put all the bolts all the way around. So now we're gonna have to put this ground on its place, which is in here. if you can see it. It's hard to see it, but from the angle of the camera it's really tight, but this thing goes. This thing goes in there like that with this kind of like a plastic bolt. But before putting that bolt, I'm gonna, well, no, so this is a 17 millimeter, and we're just gonna get it right here. Right there. Just gonna get it tight. Do not over tighten it. That's plastic. When you install the generator or alternator, don't forget this little cable holder. It's on the first one right here. It just holds that cable right there in place. I'm just gonna put it in right now. This goes in here, and we're all set. I'm just gonna let it set one day to be able to install, so that way you can dry the gasket. And tomorrow I will install the tensioner, put the belt, and we're ready to rock and roll. Let's see what happens.